Hi guys, my name is Nabiri and in this video I'll show you how to make a full break, build up and pre-drop with FL Studio stock plugins only. First thing we'll cover is the break. I'll show you the separate layers and then we'll go into the build-up. In the build-up we'll focus on the percussive side and how to make tension in that build-up. After that we're going to finish off with the pre-drop. Also, this project file is free for download, so make sure to grab it from the link in the description. So let's start with the break. Something I always keep in mind is that when I make my break I have a full spectrum to fill. So I put something in the low end, something in the mids and something in the highs. With this break I start off with the bass line, like this. And this one is made from a kind of saw bass in Citrus and a small break sub and 3x oscillator. Normally you don't want to layer two different sounds in your low end. If you take a look at these two sounds, you see that our saw bass is in the high sub region and our break sub is nice and low, so we still have some separation in there, and then it's fine to layer two different bass layers. After having this bass line I added my plug. This plug is kind of the core sound for my break. As you hear, it gives a basic melody that we can stick around for this whole break. Now I did layer this with another bell sound, and as you can see I put them both to different sides, and this one is also a little bit lower. Now we have our sub and our bass quite full and something in the high end, but we need to have something in between. And for the first thing that I put there, I put this choir. It immediately makes the whole sound a lot more full with those extra sounds in the mid layer. When you're gonna build your own breaks, maybe this reference will help you out. It's basically the same as building a cake. First you want a solid base, and then you're gonna add layer after layer that each gives its own taste and texture to the whole sound. After that I layered some strings. Then I wanted to add something that gave a little bit more body to the mids, and that's this layer. And in full it sounds like this. After that it was time to add a pad to give it some more space, and I used Flex for that. Do you like seeing my content and you wish you just could see more of it? That's possible on Patreon. On there there's even some more options for some tutorials where you could download the stems so you can follow along exactly with what I'm doing. Make sure to check it out when the link is in the description. We're gonna launch it at the 21st of January, so I'll see you there. And the final thing we add is this brass section. It just gives a nice and crispy sound, but I did have to take away all the low end and the bass frequencies basically, because that was already full. Now let's cover the build-up. Something that's very important about your build-up is that you have a right build-up of drive with percussion and your sounds pitching up. So let's first start covering the percussion. Finding the right samples for your percussion can be tricky. The way I like to do it is just having my track playing, and then I'm gonna look through all my samples that I have and see which one fits. For our percussion it's important that we stick to the same thing as with the break. We have our low, mids and high percussion. First thing that we have is our club kick for the lows. Then a snare for the mids. And this ride and crash for the high end. After having this kick drum fit in the mix, I added this ride, and it just basically fits in there. The only thing that we did was a small panning automation from left to right. Then I added this crash. Then I added the snare. But something to be careful for when you pick your right snare is that you pick something that's in the right tone. So sometimes you need to tweak them a little bit to make sure that they fit the rest of your track. In this case I did -2 so that it fits on the build-up. Now let's talk about how to build tension in your build-ups. And that starts by taking a look at how long your build-up is. In this case, it's 8 bars. And if we find the halfway point at 4 bars, we want to speed up. But that means that if your build-up is longer or shorter, you're still gonna stick to these halfway points. Don't forget that. So halfway through these 4 bars, 2 bars, we're gonna speed up again. Then we only have 2 bars left, so then after 1 bar, we speed up. And theoretically you can keep going, but you don't need to speed up each time at the halfway mark. Now with the kick, I chose to go with a little bit of a different rhythm that gave a little bit more bounce instead of just having one static one. If we then combine that with the snare, it gives a nice and bouncy rhythm. Especially in that first part of the sped up section. The final part is just mainly to build tension. I did decide to leave my ride mainly as it was, only at the final 2 bars I decided to speed them up a little bit. And for the crash we speed it up accordingly. Now if you do that well, it gives you a nice bouncy rhythm that builds tension for the build up. Now that sounded nice, but we still need to add more tension, and we can do that by making everything into a riser basically. All the sounds from our break, we just pitch them up a little bit, only just leave the plugs be because that can often sound awkward if you pitch up a melody. But after we put all our pitch bend automations for every sound open, it's gonna sound like this. Now onto the pre-drop. With our pre-drop, we tend to give a preview of the screech pattern that comes in during the drop. But you don't need to do that though. You can also use the pre-drop to build more tension before the drop without showing the screech rhythm. We can complement that with just our kick drums. For the screech, to give it a little bit more distance before it hits hard in the drop, I'm also adding some reverb that goes up just before the drop hits. And besides that, we're also adding our crash. These 3 sounds are now the main body of our pre-drop. Now all that's left to do is adding a little bit of effects with the sub drop. And now we can add a small filtered kick roll before the kick comes in. And just these 5 simple layers will make our pre-drop. If you learned something from this video, let me know in the comments down below. And if you have any questions, make sure to ask them. Now if you haven't yet, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!